What is the motivation behind your public speaking, your writing, your music? Is it what's the motivation behind it?
Well, I mean, there are multiple motivations behind everything I do. I mean, first of all, I have to make a livelihood, so I have to, I have to sell what I can to someone who will pay for it, and so that is part of the motivation. I mean, other than that, um, it's really to try to bring about a lively discourse and to amuse people, and to explore ideas that I find interesting. Not to a great extent, it's not to uh, advocate causes so much as it is to explore uh, what the possibilities are and how we think about things. Occasionally, I go on a political rampage for a little while, and I'll try to become an advocate. I formed something called the Revolution Party in 1999 and ran a write-in candidacy for president, and put together a 15-point platform for how to transform America, which was a combination of liberal and libertarian ideas that people liked quite a bit, actually. And recently I put out a message uh, suggesting that people form an open source party, which became the International Open Source Party, which mostly isn't me. It's not something that I feel extremely prepared to speak about, other than sort of the vague idea that politics should be transparent. I just lost you there. Okay, yeah, politics should be transparent. That there should be some type of democratized participation, and that in general that we are moving towards a world in which the main types of activity, the main economic and social value will probably or will hopefully be what I call voluntary collaborationism. So that rather than most people's activities being motivated by profit or being motivated by the coercion of the state, most activities will be motivated by a desire within people to be part of a process that brings, with a group of people where they create something or make something interesting or valuable or fun or whatever.
Part of the reason why I asked this question was because you've been associated for a very long time with the counterculture of the 80s and the 90s. And I was trying to just figure out if the counterculture or being a sort of a contrarian is the motivation and the starting point, or if that's the effect that you end up with.
Yeah, probably a little of both. And one of the things is whenever I become sort of part of a group or a way of thinking, I have to start experiencing doubt about some aspects of that way of thinking, or I have to have moments where I see how this can be ridiculed. Um,
I
and
think it was Mark Twain who said that whenever I find myself on the side of the majority, I find it is time to stop and reflect.
yeah, I agree with that 100%. But I mean, even like, uh, I was very much influenced by Timothy Leary. I immediately started making some fun of Timothy Leary, which he seemed to appreciate, and so forth. So yeah, I have this sense that, I mean, the way most people present themselves in public is that they have this idea, and this is who they are. And when they wake up in the morning and when they go to sleep at night, and for all the 14, 16 hours, 17 hours that they're awake during the day, this is who they are. And I doubt that. Maybe it's true for them. And if it's true for them, I find it strange personally. So I'm a lot of different peoples during the day. And particularly, when I go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning, I doubt everything, and I'm sort of in some ways a blank slate, a slightly nihilistic blank blank slate. And then from there, because I need to act, because there's stuff to do, I can begin to conjure up stuff that's worth trying to illuminate or question or whatever. So anyway, that's part of my personality.
That's very interesting, because I recently interviewed Max Moore, who is another very notable extropian and transhumanist, and his single message at the end of our interview was question everything.
Yeah, I'm with Max on that.
Okay, so let's try and see if we can connect your own identity, however fluid it may be, to the general sort of counterculture stream of the 80s and the 90s. So perhaps it's best to start first with what is counterculture anyway? Is there such a thing as counterculture?
I don't know if there is such a thing as counterculture anymore, because I don't think, counterculture has to exist in contrast with the mainstream culture. And things have changed so fast, and sort of the rules for behavior, the ideologies behind at least most of Western culture have become very hard to pin down themselves. So we're in a situation, a sort of postmodern situation with Western society and Western culture, in which there's no grounding within which to find a mainstream against which to rebel against, except perhaps the value of money. That would be something that pretty much has to be recognized by everybody as a survival mechanism. But I think that I wrote a book actually with Dan Joy called Counterculture Through the Ages, From Abraham to Acid House. And we defined countercultures as cultures that in a meaningful way transgress the norms of whatever the culture is of their times. And we define them as anti-authoritarian cultures that are also antic, that are playful, that have a certain sense that it can be fun to be a little bit subversive. So that's kind of, and that definition of counterculture can easily be challenged. We chose, Dan Joy and myself, my co-author, chose to define counterculture in terms of how Westerners perceived counterculture at that point in time, which is something that they associated with a beatnik movement, a hippie movement, punk movement, and all these anti-authoritarian cultures. Now, if you want to literally take the term counterculture very literal and just say that it's counter to the prevailing culture of that time, as I wrote in the book, there was a fundamentalist Christian group who, when I actually did a Google search for counterculture when I was writing the book, the first thing that came up was a fundamentalist Christian group who considered themselves counterculture because the mainstream culture, supported, what's the word I'm looking for, did not support their values, allowed abortion, allowed free speech, allowed all kinds of vulgar expressions of sexuality and so forth, all these things that they oppose. So from their point of view, they were a counterculture, and that can be that can also be a valid way of looking at the word.
Mm-hmm. So where about in that real or imaginary counterculture does transhumanism fit?
I'm not sure that it does. First of all, as I said, I'm not sure if we have countercultures today. I think there are elements of transhumanism that are very mainstream. I think Forbes magazine has now started a column that is largely transhumanist. I think it fits in with the desires of a lot of people who are in the business community, which may be mainstream. However we define mainstream, again, it's hard to locate a mainstream. There are television shows, news programs, speak very approvingly of these future potentials, whereas most hippies are probably very suspicious of it. But I mean, there are a lot of various elements within transhumanism, and there are a lot of people who are influenced by those countercultural times. There are people who are influenced by psychedelic experience. There are, your anarchists. I think, I mean, in some ways, the idea of open source, the idea of everything, making everything transparent, and trying to engage people, as I said before, in projects on a voluntary basis, because they're fun, because that this merger of play with work, I think, is a sort of countercultural trope that is very lively, and in some sense, the citizen scientist arm of transhumanism, or the bio, the what's the word I'm looking for, the DIY bio movement might be seen as a very countercultural thing. And it doesn't matter what the people behave like. They don't have to behave, like hipsters or whatever. What's counterculture is, DIY with technology, which was really a good definition of what cyberpunk was.
Mm-hmm. You've kind of preempted my next couple of questions, so let me just backtrack a bit and then see if I can bring it back. So let's just start with your definition of what transhumanism is, perhaps the best starting point.
Well, I take it, I think the way it's meant, which is human enhancement through technology and science, being able to do things that we were not able to do, in our original biological model, and not just say get a pair of glasses to allow ourselves to see normally, but things that actually, expand what was possible for a human being before. So, I mean, if I had X-ray specs, if my glasses could see through the wall, it would be a transhumanist technology by today's standards.
Like Molly, for example, from Neuromancer, she had those goggles surgically embedded in her eyes where she could see in the dark and so on and so on.
Right. So when you see people getting prosthetic legs that allow them to run faster than most people, that would be a transhumanist enhancement. So, I mean, and expands out to all the favored tropes that are spoken of by most transhumanists of expanded lifespan, more importantly, of expanded health span, of greater intelligence, whether that's achieved with our own equipment or with some interaction with artificial intelligence, general artificial intelligence, what have you, etc. So that's what I accept its meaning.